After 9 years wrongfully imprisoned, he returns. But the truth leaves him in tears. David Mitchell walked the streets of his city with slow steps, carrying only a bag of personal belongings. After 9 long years behind bars for a crime he never committed, he had finally managed to prove his innocence. The young lawyer who believed in his case had worked tirelessly, and now he was a free man. But the freedom he had dreamed of so much brought with it a mix of joy and apprehension. When he turned the corner onto the street where he lived, David stopped abruptly. The house he had left behind was unrecognizable. The roof tiles were broken and many were missing, leaving holes through which you could see the sky. The peeling walls showed the brick beneath paint that was once white. The fence was down in places, and the gate hung by a single hinge. On the worn wooden porch, 4 children watched him in silence. They were all barefoot, wearing clothes that had seen better days. The oldest, a girl who must have been about 15, held the hand of a very small blonde child. Beside them, 2 boys of different ages completed the group. They all had suspicious eyes, like frightened animals ready to run away. David felt his heart race. Those children. Could it be? The oldest had the same eyes as his wife, Sarah, the straight brown hair, exactly like hers. But when David left home, his daughter Emily was only 6 years old. Could it really be her? "Excuse me," said David, his voice trembling. "Is this the Mitchell family home?" The teenager raised her chin, defiant. "Who wants to know?" I was... David swallowed hard. "My name is David Mitchell. I lived here." The children exchanged nervous glances. The oldest girl whispered something to the others, who immediately took a few steps back. It was then that the little blonde girl, who couldn't have been more than 5, pointed at David curiously. "Emily, is this the bad man Mommy talked about?" asked the little child. David felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. Bad man? Sarah had spoken ill of him to the children. "No, Lily," answered Emily, watching David carefully. This is our father." The silence that followed was deafening. David looked at each of the 4 children, trying to recognize familiar features. He had identified Emily, but the other 3. When he was arrested, Sarah was pregnant with their 2nd child. That meant... "Where is your mother?" asked David, his voice almost inaudible. "She had to leave," answered one of the boys, with hair as light as Lily's. "Said she was going to work far away to get money." "How long ago?" 2 weeks, said Emily curtly. "And we don't know when she's coming back." David tried to approach, but the children retreated even further. It was as if he were a dangerous stranger, not their father. Reality hit him like an avalanche. He had lost 9 years of his children's lives. 9 crucial years where they grew up, learned to walk, to talk, went to school, had nightmares, laughed, cried, all without him. At that moment, a familiar voice called him. "David, is that really you?" He turned and saw Mrs. Thompson, the elderly neighbor who lived in the house next door. The white-haired woman approached with difficulty, leaning on a cane. "Mrs. Thompson," David ran to her. "Are you well? The children, are they..." "They are your children, yes," confirmed the elderly woman, tears in her eyes. "My God, David, 9 years. How did you bear it?" "I knew I was innocent from the start. But the children, they don't recognize me." Mrs. Thompson looked at the porch where the 4 children continued to watch everything with suspicion. "Emily remembers you, but the others... Jackson was born shortly after you were arrested. He's 8 now. Tyler is 6, and Lily is the youngest. She's 5. They never really knew you." Each word felt like a dagger to David's heart. 3 children who were born or grew up without him. 3 kids who saw him as a stranger. And Sarah... "Mrs. Thompson, what happened to my wife?" The elderly woman sighed deeply. "That woman is an angel, David. An angel who has suffered like few people in this world. All these years she worked like crazy to support those children. She cleaned offices in the early morning, sold sweets on the street during the day, sewed until the late hours. She never stopped. But why did she leave just now? The situation became unbearable. The house was being taken by the bank, the bills were piling up. She got a job as a live-in housekeeper in Washington, D.C. She lives there at work. She sends every penny she can to the children. David felt his legs go weak. Sarah had sacrificed everything, absolutely everything, to keep the family together, and he couldn't do anything to help. "Mrs. Thompson, who is taking care of the children?" Emily became a little mother before her time. Poor girl. She lost her childhood looking after her siblings. "I help when I can. I bring food when there's some left. I keep an eye on them. But it's hard, David. Very hard." David looked again at the porch. Emily had put her arms around her younger siblings in a protective gesture. She was only 15, but she carried the weight of an adult on her shoulders. Can I go into my house?" "It is your house," said Mrs. Thompson kindly. "But take it easy. The children are scared." David walked slowly to the porch. The wooden planks creaked under his feet, some clearly rotten. When he got close to the children, they shrank back even more. "I know you don't know me," said David, crouching down to their level. "I know it must be very strange to have a man you don't remember saying he's your father, but I promise you one thing. I will prove that I am a good person. I will take care of you. I will fix this house. I will bring Mommy back." "You can't bring Mommy back," said Jackson, the 8-year-old boy, angrily. "She left because of you. If you hadn't done something wrong, she wouldn't have to work so much." His son's words pierced David's heart like poisoned arrows. How to explain to an 8-year-old that he was innocent? How to make a boy understand the complexity of a flawed justice system? "Jackson," David tried to keep his voice calm. "I know it's hard to believe, but I never did anything wrong. They found out I was innocent. That's why they let me go." "Liar!" shouted the boy. "Innocent people don't stay in jail for so long. You did do something bad, and now you want to pretend you're nice." Jackson ran off and went into the house. Tyler, the 6-year-old boy, followed right after. Only Emily and little Lily remained on the porch. "He's confused," said Emily, but her voice held no affection. It was cold, distant, old. "We all are." "Emily, sweetheart, I know you remember me. You were very little, but I remember," she interrupted him. "I remember you leaving the house that day. I remember Mommy crying. I remember the neighbors whispering. And I remember years and years waiting for you to come back, until I stopped waiting." The coldness in his daughter's voice hurt more than anything David had ever felt. It was as if she hated him. "Did you eat today?" asked David, trying to change the subject. "Mrs. Thompson brought bread this morning. There's a little sour milk in the fridge." David closed his eyes. His children were going hungry in their own home. "I'm going to go out real quick to buy some food for you, okay?" Emily shrugged, indifferent. Lily, however, hid behind her older sister. "Lily," David addressed the youngest, "do you like dolls?" The little girl nodded shyly. "Then I'll bring you a doll, okay?" For the first time, David saw a different sparkle in his youngest daughter's eyes. David set out to find the nearest market, but soon discovered that even that wouldn't be simple. He had no money. 9 years in prison meant 9 years without work, without saving anything. The little he had saved before prison had been used by the lawyers. At the bank, he discovered his account had been closed due to inactivity. Worse still, there were debts in his name that he didn't even know existed. Loans someone had taken out using his documents while he was in prison. With a heavy heart, David sought out the lawyer who had secured his release. Mr. Christopher Bennett was a young man, recently graduated, who had taken his case when no one else believed in him. "Mr. Bennett, I really need your help. I found out someone took out loans in my name while I was in prison. How is that possible?" The lawyer received him in his modest office, in a small firm downtown. "David, I have bad news. During our investigation, we discovered who really committed the crime you were convicted of." "Who?" "Your former partner, Richard Sterling." David felt the world spin around him. Richard had been his best friend since they were teenagers. They had started the business together. They were like brothers. "That's impossible. Richard defended me throughout the whole trial. He said he believed in my innocence." Precisely why he managed to throw the investigation off track for so long. He had access to all your documents as a partner in the company. He was the one who forged the papers that incriminated you, and he was also the one who used your identity to take out the loans you discovered. David sank into the chair. Richard's betrayal felt like a second prison sentence. For 9 years he had thought of his friend fondly, grateful to have someone who believed in him. And all that time, Richard was the real culprit. Why did he do it? Money. A lot of money. You were about to close $1 million deal, remember? The sale of the land downtown. With you in prison, he took everything. David remembered the land. It was an inheritance he had received from his father, and they had finally found a buyer willing to pay a fortune for it. With that money, he had planned to give Sarah and Emily a better life, maybe have more children. Where is he now? He lives in a mansion in the city's Upper East Side. Rich, respected, owner of several companies. No one suspects a thing. And the debt's in my name. Also taken out by him. Probably to finance his businesses while you were in prison and couldn't contest them. David left the lawyer's office feeling worse than when he entered. Not only had he lost 9 years of his life and his children's lives, but he had discovered he was betrayed by the man he trusted most in the world. With no money to buy food, David had to swallow his pride and ask the neighbors for help. Some were sympathetic, especially after Mrs. Thompson spread the word that he had proven his innocence. Others, however, still looked at him with suspicion. At the neighborhood bakery, run by Mrs. Miller, a woman he'd known since childhood, David managed to get some bread and milk for the children on credit. "David, my boy," said Mrs. Miller pityingly, "I always knew you were incapable of doing what they said. But you're in a tough spot now, aren't you?" "Very tough, Mrs. Miller. I don't even have a place to work. Look, I need someone to make the bread deliveries in the morning. It's not much, but at least it'll give you a little something." David accepted immediately. Any work would be welcome. When he returned home with the groceries, he found only Lily sitting on the porch. The other children had disappeared. "Where are your siblings, daughter?" "Jackson ran out when you left. Tyler went after him. Emily went looking." David felt a tightness in his chest. He had barely gotten home and was already causing problems. "Lily, are you hungry?" The little girl nodded shyly. David opened the bread and spread a little margarine, offering it to her. He watched as his daughter ate eagerly, clearly hungry. "Lily, can I ask you a question?" She nodded, her mouth full of bread. "Do you know who I am?" "You're my daddy," she replied innocently. Emily said, "And what do you think of your daddy?" Lily thought for a moment, chewing slowly. "You seem nice. You brought food, and you said you'd bring a doll." It was the first positive reaction David had received since arriving home. Tears welled in his eyes. "Is Daddy crying?" asked Lily, concerned. "It's just that Daddy is very happy to be with you. Are you going to leave again?" His daughter's innocent question was like a stab to the heart. David knelt in front of her and held her small hands. "Never again, sweetheart. Daddy promises he will never leave again." Lily smiled for the first time, and David felt a small spark of hope ignite in his chest. Emily returned with the two brothers as it was getting dark. Jackson came with his head down. Tyler was crying softly. "Where were you?" asked David, worried. "Jackson went to the park. He always goes there when he's upset," explained Emily. "Tyler went after him and got hurt running. He scraped his knee." David looked at Tyler, who was limping slightly. Instinctively, he moved closer to see the injury. "Let me see, son." "No!" yelled Tyler, hiding behind Emily. "I don't want you to touch me." His son's rejection was like a slap in the face. David stepped back, hurt. "Tyler, I just want to help." "You're not my dad," the boy shouted. "My real dad wouldn't have abandoned us. My real mum wouldn't have left." Tyler ran into the house. Emily sighed, tired. "He doesn't understand," she said. To him, a dad is someone who is present, someone who cares, who protects, someone who doesn't let the family go hungry. "Emily, I know it's hard, but—" "Hard," she interrupted him, her voice full of bitterness. "Do you know what's hard? It's being 15 and being responsible for 3 younger kids. It's waking up in the middle of the night because Tyler had a nightmare and is calling for Mommy. It's lying at school saying everything's fine when everyone knows it's not. It's seeing Mommy crying in secret and pretending you didn't see, so you don't make her sadder." David swallowed hard. His daughter was right. He didn't know what was really hard. It's seeing the neighbors whispering when we walk by. It's hearing other kids ask where our dad is and not knowing what to say. It's being ashamed to bring friends home because the house is falling apart and there's no food in the fridge. Every word from Emily was an accusation, a weight added to the guilt David already carried. "Daughter, I know you've suffered a lot, and I know I can't make up for the lost years, but I'm here now and I'll do everything to—" "To what?" Emily cut him off again. "To pretend we're a happy family, to pretend you can erase 9 years of abandonment, to pretend Jackson doesn't have problems at school because he fights with everyone, to pretend Tyler doesn't wet the bed because he's afraid of everything, to pretend I didn't lose my adolescence being a mother to my own brothers." David was speechless. He didn't know Jackson had problems at school or that Tyler still wet the bed. He knew nothing about his own children's lives. "Emily," he said, his voice trembling, "give me a chance to get to know you, to learn to be a dad again, to try to fix what can be fixed." The girl looked at him for a long moment, her eyes shining with tears she refused to shed. "A chance," she repeated thoughtfully. "Do you know how many chances I gave you to come back? How many nights I stayed awake by the window hoping to see you arrive? How many times I lied to Tyler when he asked where his father was, saying you'd be back soon?" David felt his heart shatter. "I waited until I couldn't wait anymore, until I accepted that you were never coming back. And now that I've managed to protect my siblings on my own, now that I've managed to be strong enough to take care of everyone without needing anybody, now you come back." "Daughter, don't call me daughter," she shouted, finally letting the tears fall. "A daughter is someone who has a father. I'm just a girl who had to grow up too fast because she had no one to take care of her." Emily ran inside the house, leaving David alone on the porch with Lily, who watched everything with frightened little eyes. "Daddy, why is everyone mad at you?" asked the youngest. David picked her up, needing some comfort in that terrible moment. "Because Daddy was away for a long time, sweetie. And when someone we love is away, we get sad. And sometimes sadness turns into anger. But you came back, isn't that good?" "Yes, my love, it is good. Very good. But sometimes people need time to forgive." Lily rested her little head on her father's shoulder, and David felt that at least one of his children didn't completely reject him. That night, David slept on the living room sofa. The house was in poor condition, but it was his home, with his children. Even rejected by 3 of them, even hated by his own family, he was home. In the middle of the night, he woke to a noise. It was Tyler, crying softly. "Daddy! Daddy!" the boy called between sobs. David got up quickly and went to the children's room. Tyler was sitting on the bed, wet and ashamed. "Hey, champ, what's wrong?" I wet the bed," Tyler murmured, embarrassed. "Emily always cleans it, but she's sleeping." David felt his heart tighten. That intimate moment of fatherly care was something he had missed with all his children. "It's okay, son. I'll help you." "Are you going to be mad at me?" "Why would I be mad?" "Because big boys aren't supposed to wet the bed." David knelt beside the bed at his son's level. "Tyler, do you know why we sometimes wet the bed?" The boy shook his head. "It's because our mind is worried about something. When we're scared or sad, our body gets confused. It's not your fault." "Is it because I'm scared of you?" His son's honesty broke David's heart. "You're scared of me?" Tyler nodded, ashamed. "Why, son?" "Because I don't know if you're good or bad. Emily said you're our father, but a father is someone who takes care of us. And you never took care of us." David took a deep breath, trying to find the right words for a 6-year-old. "Tyler, have you ever heard that sometimes good people go to jail by mistake?" "What do you mean?" "Sometimes someone does something wrong, but they blame an innocent person. That's what happened to me. I never did anything wrong, but they put me in prison anyway, and they only just found out I was innocent." Tyler grew thoughtful, processing the information. "So you didn't abandon us?" "Never, son. I never abandoned you. Every day in prison I thought of you, of your mother, of this house. Every day I dreamed of coming home and taking care of you. But why did it take them so long to find out you were good? Sometimes the truth takes a while to come out. But it did. And now I'm here." Tyler was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Are you really going to stay? You won't leave again?" "I'm staying, son. Forever." Tyler let David help him change clothes and clean the mattress. It was a simple but meaningful moment. For the first time, one of the children had completely accepted his help. "Thank you," said Tyler when David finished making the bed with clean sheets. "Thank you for what?" "For not yelling at me, for helping me, for being nice." David held his son in his arms, feeling an intense emotion. "Son, I will always be nice to you. I will always help you. I will always protect you. That's the promise a father makes to his son. Even when I wet the bed? Even when you wet the bed." Tyler smiled for the first time since David had arrived home. And in that smile, David saw a small hope that perhaps he could reconnect with his children. The next morning, David woke up early to start his work at the bakery. He left a note for the kids saying he was going to work and would be back for lunch with food. The delivery job wasn't easy for a 42-year-old man who had spent 9 years in prison, but David gave it his all. With every house he delivered bread to, he felt he was taking a small step toward rebuilding his life. Mrs. Miller was impressed with his dedication. "David, you work like a young man. At your age, doing this heavy work. Mrs. Miller, any honest work is worthy, and I need to support my children. How are they reacting to your return?" David sighed, carrying a heavy basket of bread. "It's hard, very hard. They don't know me, they don't trust me, and they have reasons for that." "Give it time, my son. A deep wound doesn't heal overnight." When David returned home late in the morning, he found the house empty. Worried, he ran to Mrs. Thompson's house. "Mrs. Thompson, where are the children?" "Calm down, David. They went to school. Well, Emily and Tyler went. Jackson hasn't been going for a few days." "What do you mean he hasn't been going?" "That boy has some problems there. He fought with some classmates, disrespected a teacher. The principal even called Sarah before she traveled. Said if the behavior doesn't improve, they'll have to expel the boy." David felt a weight in his stomach. Jackson, his 8-year-old son, was having serious problems at school and he didn't even know. Where is he now? Probably at the park, playing ball with some older boys. That's where he hangs out when he skips class. David went to the park and indeed found Jackson playing soccer with boys who looked at least 12 or 13. His son was sweaty, focused on the game, and didn't notice his father's arrival. David watched for a few minutes. Jackson was skilled, fast, and the older boys seemed to respect him. But there was something angry in the boys' movements, an unnecessary aggression. When the game ended, David approached. "Jackson." The boy turned and his expression changed completely upon seeing his father. "What are you doing here? I came looking for you. I heard you haven't been going to school." "So what? What's it to you?" "It's everything to me. I'm your father." "Father?" Jackson let out a bitter laugh, far too mature for his age. "A father is someone who's present. A father is someone who puts food on the table. A father is someone who defends the family when someone talks trash. You're none of that." The words from his 8-year-old son were devastating. David tried to stay calm. "Jackson, I know you're angry." "Angry?" the boy shouted. "You don't know anything. You don't know what it's like to go to school and have everyone whisper that your father is in prison. You don't know what it's like to get beaten up by a bigger kid because he said a criminal's son deserves a beating. You don't know what it's like to be ashamed to say your own last name." Each word was like a stab to David's heart. His son had been bullied because of him. "Son, I didn't know." "Of course you didn't know. You were in your cell, far away from all the problems. I was the one who had to endure it. I was the one who had to fight to defend myself. I was the one who had to become the tough kid at school so no one would mess with me." Now David understood why Jackson was having problems at school. The boy had developed an aggressive personality to protect himself. "And you know what's worse?" Jackson continued, tears finally beginning to fall. "I was defending you. When the kids said you were a criminal, I fought them. I got beaten up, but I screamed that my father was innocent. And guess what? I was right. You were innocent. But what good did it do? You were gone anyway." David knelt in front of his son, not caring about the other boys watching the scene. "Jackson, you defended a father you barely knew. That shows what a brave boy you are." "Brave?" Jackson laughed without joy. "If I were brave, I wouldn't have let Mom leave. If I were brave, I would have managed to take better care of my siblings. Son, you're 8 years old. It's not your responsibility to take care of anyone. Then whose is it? Yours? Jackson challenged him with a look. Where were you when Tyler cried at night? Where were you when Lily got sick and we had to walk her to the hospital because we didn't have bus money? Where were you when Emily fainted at school because she hadn't eaten anything in 2 days? David closed his eyes, feeling the weight of each absence, of every important moment he had missed. I was in prison, Jackson. Wrongfully imprisoned. But you're right. I wasn't here when you needed me. And that will haunt me for the rest of my life. Then why did you come back? Asked Jackson, his voice heavy with pain. Why didn't you just stay away? We were starting to manage on our own. Emily was managing to take care of everyone. Mom was managing to send money. Why did you have to come back and mess everything up again? His son's question struck David like lightning. Was he really causing more trouble than help? Because I love you, David said simply. Because every night for 9 years I dreamed of this moment. Because a family should be together. Family? Jackson repeated. What family? 4 kids who barely remember you and a mother who had to leave. That's your family. Yes. You are my family, and I will fight to win each of you back. Jackson was quiet for a moment, studying his father's face. And what if we don't want to be won back? Then I'll keep trying anyway, because that's what fathers do. Real fathers don't have to win their children back, said Jackson. They never lose them in the first place. The boy picked up his ball and ran off, leaving David alone in the square with a lump in his throat and his heart in pieces. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. When David returned home, he found Emily preparing a simple lunch in the kitchen. She had skipped school to take care of Lily, who had a fever. Lily is sick? Asked David, worried. It's just a little cold, replied Emily without looking at him. She always gets like this when the weather changes. David watched his daughter cooking. She moved around the kitchen with the efficiency of an experienced homemaker, but her hands were those of a 15-year-old girl. Her back was hunched under the weight of responsibilities that shouldn't have been hers. Emily, let me help. You don't need to. I know how to do it. I know you do. But I'm here now. You don't have to do everything alone. I've always done everything alone, she replied curtly. Why would it be different now? David walked over to the sink and started washing the dirty dishes. Emily tried to stop him. I said you don't have to. And I said I want to help. This is my house too, Emily. And these are my children too. Your house? Your children? She turned to him, her eyes flashing. Where were you when this house was falling apart? Where were you when I had to stop being a child to become a mother to my own siblings? Where were you when I had to lie at school that everything was okay, so the social services people wouldn't come here and separate us? David stopped washing the dishes. Social services. They had been at risk of being separated. What do you mean, social services? You think nobody noticed 4 children living alone? You think the neighbors didn't talk? You think the school didn't get suspicious when I showed up there hungry, sleepy, with dirty clothes? David sat down heavily on the kitchen chair. My God, Emily, you almost got separated. Almost? She laughed bitterly. They came here 3 times. 3 times I had to convince the social workers that Mommy was working, that there was a responsible adult taking care of us. 3 times I had to lie that everything was okay. And how did you manage to stay together? Because I lied very well. Because Mrs. Thompson helped, pretending she was keeping a close eye on us. Because I learned to cook, to clean, to take care of a small child. Because I became an adult at 10 years old, so we wouldn't be separated. David felt a mix of pride and sadness as he looked at his daughter. Pride for the strength and determination she had shown. Sadness that she had been forced to grow up so fast. Emily, I didn't know. Of course you didn't know, she exploded. You don't know anything. You don't know that Jackson was suspended from school last week for fighting with a classmate. You don't know that Tyler still wets the bed every night because he has nightmares. You don't know that Lily talks to herself, making up conversations with you, because she created an imaginary father in her head. You don't know that I fainted twice in the last few months from sheer exhaustion. Each revelation was like a slap in David's face. His children had gone through so much suffering and he knew nothing. You don't know that I never brought any friend here because I'm ashamed of this house. You don't know that I never dated because I don't have time, because if I'm out 5 minutes longer, Tyler panics. You don't know that I wake up 3 times every night to check if everyone is okay. Emily was crying now, all her frustrations finally pouring out. You don't know that I've thought about running away from home 1,000 times, but I never did, because I knew if I left, you would all be separated. You don't know that there are nights I cry so much I soak the whole pillow, but I have to wake up the next day and pretend I'm strong. David stood up and tried to hug his daughter, but she pulled away. Don't touch me, you don't have that right. Emily, please, please what? You want me to pretend you're my hero? You want me to celebrate your return? You want me to forget that I spent the best years of my life taking care of your children because you weren't here? I want you to give me a chance to fix this. Fix it, she laughed, drying her tears with her shirt sleeve. Are you going to fix my lost adolescence? Are you going to fix Tyler's trauma? Are you going to fix Jackson's anger? Are you going to fix the fact that Lily doesn't know what it's like to have a present father? I'm going to try. No. You're going to try to be a father now because it's convenient for you, because you feel guilty. But where were you when it wasn't convenient? Where were you when it was difficult? David had no answer for that. You know what the truth is, Emily continued. The truth is, we learned to live without you. We learned to be strong without you. We learned to be a family without you. And now that we were finally getting organized, you come back wanting to take a place that is no longer yours. This place has always been mine, Emily. I am your father. A father isn't who made you. A father is who raised you. A father is who was present. A father is who sacrificed something for his children, and you did none of that. I had no choice. Everyone has a choice, she shouted. You could have written me letters. You could have asked someone to take care of us. You could have done something other than just disappear from our lives. Emily, I wrote letters, many letters, but I didn't know if they reached you. What letters? I never received a single letter from you. David was confused. He had written hundreds of letters to his children during his 9 years in prison. Where had those letters gone? At that moment, Lily appeared in the kitchen, her little face red with fever. Emily, it hurts here, she said, pointing to her throat. Immediately, Emily's irritation transformed into maternal care. Come here, my love. Let's see if you have a fever. David watched as Emily cared for her little sister with tenderness and competence. She had truly become a mother to her siblings. Lily, sweetie, are you feeling sick? Asked David, approaching. Lily looked at him with tired little eyes. Daddy, can you make the little pain go away? His daughter's innocent question touched David deeply. She truly believed that fathers could solve all problems. I'll do my best, my love. David picked Lily up and felt that she was truly feverish. He needed to take her to the doctor, but he didn't have money for either the appointment or the medicine. Emily, she needs to go to the doctor. We don't have money for a doctor, replied Emily, pragmatic. I'll give her a lukewarm bath and see if the fever goes down. If it doesn't go down by tomorrow, we'll take her to the clinic. No, she's going to the doctor today. I'll figure out the money. How? You don't have money for anything? David thought quickly. He had only one option, to borrow money. I'll borrow it. I'll find a way. From who? Who's going to lend money to someone who just got out of prison and doesn't have a steady job? David didn't answer, but his determination was unshakable. He picked Lily up and left the house. First, he went to the neighborhood bakery. Mrs. Miller, I need a very big favor. My youngest daughter is sick and I need to take her to the doctor. Could you lend me the money for the appointment? I'll work for free all week if I have to. Mrs. Miller looked at Lily, who was limp in her father's arms. Of course, David. I'll give you the money and you pay me back when you can. The doctor confirmed that Lily had a throat infection and needed antibiotics. The medicine cost almost the equivalent of 3 days of David's work, but Mrs. Miller helped him again. When they returned home, Lily was already more lively thanks to the fever medicine the doctor had given. "Daddy, thank you for making the little pain go away," she said, hugging David's neck. Emily watched the scene in silence. For the first time, David had acted as a father should, putting his children's well-being above everything. That night, David had a serious conversation with Mr. Bennett about the possibility of suing Richard. "David, you have a solid case. You can sue for emotional distress, material damages, misuse of identity. The compensation amount would be substantial. How long would it take?" "Between 2 and 5 years, maybe more." David sighed. 2 to 5 years was a long time. His children needed help now. "Mr. Bennett, isn't there a faster way to resolve this?" "Well, there is a possibility. We could try an out-of-court settlement, confront Richard with the evidence and see if he prefers to pay compensation rather than face a public lawsuit." "Would that work?" "Men like Richard usually prefer to handle things discreetly. A public scandal could ruin his reputation and business." "Then let's try." The next day, Mr. Bennett scheduled a meeting with Richard at his office. David was nervous, but determined to confront the man who had destroyed his life. Richard Sterling was unrecognizable. The simple friend from the past now wore an expensive suit, a gold watch, and had the arrogant air of someone who had achieved everything in life. When he saw David, his face paled. "David, I heard you got out of prison." "Heard?" David tried to control his anger. "You didn't hear, Richard. You knew I was getting out because you knew I was innocent from day one." Richard looked nervously at Mr. Bennett, who was recording the conversation. "David, I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't pretend you don't know," David exploded. "It was 9 years, Richard. 9 years of my life, 9 years away from my children. And you knew I was innocent because you were the one who committed the crime." "You can't prove that." Mr. Bennett opened a folder and placed several documents on the table. "Actually, we can. We have proof that you were the one who forged the documents. We have proof that you were the one who used David's identity to take out loans. We have everything, Mr. Sterling." Richard flipped through the documents, his expression changing from arrogance to panic. "What do you want?" "We want justice," said David. "But mainly, we want compensation for the damage you caused my family." "What kind of compensation?" Mr. Bennett placed another paper on the table. "A settlement of $500,000, plus the payment of all debts wrongfully incurred in my client's name, plus a public confession of what was done." Richard turned pale. "500,000? I don't have that kind of money." "You don't?" David stood up, outraged. "You have a mansion, several businesses, several cars, all built on my ruin, all paid for with money that should have been mine." "David, you have to understand. I never meant for you to be in prison that long. I thought it would only be a few months until things blew over." "A few months?" David couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You thought ruining my life for a few months was acceptable? I was desperate. The business was failing. I had debts. I needed money. And that justifies destroying a family?" Richard lowered his head, finally showing something resembling remorse. "David, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. But 500,000 is a lot of money." "You know what's a lot?" David leaned over the table. "It's a father missing 9 years of his children's lives. It's a wife working like a slave to support 4 kids alone. It's a 15-year-old girl having to be a mother to her own siblings. It's a 6-year-old child not knowing what it's like to have a present father. That's a lot, Richard." The confrontation lasted 2 hours. In the end, Richard agreed to pay $300,000, pay off all debts in David's name, and make a written but not public confession admitting his guilt. It wasn't everything David wanted, but it would be enough to start over. When he left the meeting, David felt relieved and at the same time empty. Justice had been served, at least partially, but it wouldn't erase the lost years. With the settlement money, David was able to pay off the most urgent debts and start renovating the house. He decided to do the work together with his children, hoping this shared activity would bring them closer. He bought tools, building materials, and proposed the project to the kids. "Let's renovate our house together. Everyone will help as they can, and in the end we'll have a new house for Mom to come back to." Lily was immediately excited. Tyler showed some interest. Jackson remained indifferent. Emily was direct. "I don't need your help to take care of the house. I've always done it alone. Emily, it's not a question of needing. It's a question of wanting to do it together. It's a question of being a family." Family? Still with that family idea? David ignored the provocation and started to work. First, he fixed the roof. Lily sat on the porch watching and asking questions. "Daddy, why do the shingles break?" "Because time and rain wear them down, sweetheart. But when we take care of them, they last a long time." "Like family?" His daughter's innocent question caught David by surprise. "What do you mean, my love?" "Family breaks too when you don't take care of it, right? But when you do, it gets strong." David stopped what he was doing and looked at Lily. Sometimes children had a wisdom that adults lost. "That's true, Lily, that's exactly right." Gradually, Tyler began to take an interest in the work. At first, he just watched. Then he started handing tools to his father. Finally, he asked to really help. "Daddy, can I paint too?" "Of course you can, champ. I'll give you your own brush." Tyler was radiant. He painted the wall with more paint on his clothes than on the surface, but his joy was contagious. "Daddy, I'm painting our house." "Yes, you are, son. You're doing a very important job." Jackson continued to resist, but David noticed that he was watching everything from a distance. The boy didn't participate, but he was interested. One day, Jackson came home from school early and found David fixing the backyard fence. "Why are you doing that?" the boy asked. "To make our house beautiful and safe." "But you're going to leave again anyway. Why fix it?" David stopped working and looked seriously at his son. "Jackson, I already told you I'm never leaving again." "Everyone says that. Mom also said she wasn't leaving, and she did." David understood. Jackson didn't believe in promises because he had already been let down. "Son, your mother went to work to get money for you all. She didn't abandon you, and I won't abandon you either." "How can you be sure?" "Because now I know the value of a family. Because for 9 years I dreamed of this moment. Because you all are the most important thing in my life." Jackson was quiet, thoughtful. "What if you get arrested again?" "I won't be. They proved I was innocent." "What if you get sick?" "If I get sick, I'll still be your father. I'll still take care of you all." "What if you die?" The question hit David like a bolt of lightning. Jackson was testing every possibility, every scenario where he could be abandoned again. "Son, no one knows what will happen in the future, but I can promise you one thing. As long as I am alive, I will be by your side. And if something happens to me, you will know that you were loved by your father every day of his life." Jackson watched David for a long moment, weighing the sincerity of the words. "Can I help?" "Help with what?" "With the work, with the fence." David felt his heart race. It was the first time Jackson had offered to help spontaneously. "Of course you can. I'd love to have your help." They worked together all afternoon. Jackson proved to be skillful and smart, asking technical questions and giving useful suggestions. "Dad, if we put a board here underneath, the fence will be firmer." "Good idea, son. You're right." At the end of the day, when they looked at the finished work, Jackson said, "Our fence looks nice." Our fence. It was the first time Jackson used the word our, referring to something that included David. Emily remained resistant, but David noticed small signs that she was watching the changes in the family. When Lily got sick again, it was Emily who suggested that David take her to the doctor. When Tyler had a nightmare, it was she who woke David to help. "David," she called him one night formally, "Tyler is asking for you." It was progress. She had stopped preventing David from taking care of his siblings. The house was getting nicer every day. New roof, painted walls, fence repaired, clean yard. More important than that, the family was slowly reconnecting. One night, while David was painting the living room, Lily approached him with a drawing. "Daddy, I made this for you." It was a drawing of a family, father, mother, 4 children, all holding hands in front of a colorful house. "It's our family," Lily explained. "When Mommy comes back, we'll be like this." David was moved looking at the drawing. "Lily, can I keep this drawing forever?" "You can. But you have to put it on the refrigerator first, so everyone can see." David stuck the drawing on the refrigerator, and for the first time in weeks, he saw Emily smiling discreetly. 2 weeks later, David received a call that would change everything. "David," it was Sarah's voice. "Sarah, my love, how are you?" "David, is it true that you got out of prison? That they proved you were innocent?" "It's true, my love. I'm home with the children." There was silence on the other end of the line. "David, I need to ask for your forgiveness." "Forgiveness? For what?" "For having doubted you sometimes, for having felt abandoned, for having left when you most needed me to be there." "Sarah, you have nothing to apologize for. You were a hero. You took care of our children alone. You worked like a slave to support the family. You are amazing." "David, I want to come home. I want to be with you and the children. But I'm afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid that things have changed too much. Afraid that you don't love me anymore. Afraid that the children don't need me anymore." David laughed, emotional. "Sarah, nothing has changed in my love for you. And the children need their mother very much. Lily talks about you every day. Tyler asks when you're coming back. Jackson pretended he didn't care, but I know he misses you. And Emily needs to be a teenager again, not her sibling's mother. And you, David? Do you forgive me for leaving? My love, there is nothing to forgive. You did what you needed to do to save our family. So can I come back?" "You can and should come back. We are waiting for you." Sarah returned 3 days later. David and the 4 children were at the bus station when the bus arrived. Lily was the first to run to her mother, followed by Tyler. Jackson tried to keep his composure, but ended up hugging Sarah tightly. Emily was last, and when she finally hugged her mother, she broke down in tears. "Mom, I took care of everyone. I took care." "I know, my daughter, I know. You were very brave. But now Mommy is back." David watched the scene with tears in his eyes. His family was together again. But not everything would be easy. Sarah was visibly thinner and more tired. The months working away from home had taken their toll. During the first few weeks after Sarah's return, there was a period of readjustment. The children, who had gotten used to Emily's rules, now had to readjust to their real mother's rules. David and Sarah needed to relearn how to be husband and wife after so much time apart. One night, when the children were already asleep, David and Sarah talked seriously for the first time. "David, I need to tell you something." "What is it, my love?" "During these months away, I developed some problems. I have anxiety, I can't sleep well, or sometimes I have panic attacks thinking I'm going to lose you all again." David held his wife's hands. "Sarah, that's understandable. You went through a lot of stress. I think we should do family therapy to learn how to be a family again." David agreed immediately. They needed professional help to heal their emotional wounds. During therapy sessions, many truths came to light. Emily confessed that she felt guilty for having been forced to grow up so fast, but she was also afraid of being a child again. Jackson admitted that he was still angry at David, even knowing he was innocent. Tyler revealed that he sometimes pretended to be okay, so as not to worry anyone. Lily, the youngest, seemed the most emotionally balanced. David discovered that during the years in prison, his letters to his children had never reached them. The prison administration had lost or misplaced all the correspondence. The children grew up thinking their father had forgotten them, when in fact he wrote to them every week. In one of the most emotional sessions, David brought copies of the letters he had saved. "I have here over 300 letters I wrote to you over these 9 years. The children were shocked. "Letters?" asked Jackson. "You wrote letters to us?" "Every week, sometimes 2 or 3 a week. I told you about my day, asked about you, said how much I missed you." David began to read some of the letters aloud. "My dear Emily, today I dreamed you were playing in the backyard with your siblings. In the dream, you were wearing that blue dress Mom made for you. I wish so much I could be there to play with you. My dear Jackson, I hope you are being obedient at school and helping Mom at home. When I come back, we'll play soccer together every day. My little Tyler, Even if you don't remember me much, I want you to know that Daddy loves you very much. I hope you're growing up strong and healthy. My little Lily, you must be a beautiful young lady now. Daddy so wants to really know you, to hear your voice, to make you laugh." As David read, the children cried. Emily was the first to speak. I didn't know. I thought you had forgotten about us." "Never, my daughter. Not a single day did I forget you." Jackson, who had always been the most resentful, approached his father. "Daddy, forgive me for being angry with you." David hugged his son. "There's nothing to forgive, Jackson. You had every right to be angry. It was a moment of deep healing for the whole family." The following months brought more challenges, but also more victories. David got a better job at a mechanic's shop, using skills he had learned in prison. Sarah went back to school, taking a technical course to get a more qualified job in the city. The children also began to stabilize emotionally. Jackson started doing well in school again and stopped fighting with his classmates. Tyler gradually stopped wetting the bed as he felt more secure. Lily continued to be the cheerful child she always was, but now with a present father to play with her. Emily was the one who took the longest to adapt. After years of being her sibling's mother, it was hard to go back to being just the older sister. She struggled to let David and Sarah make decisions about the younger siblings. "Emily," David talked to her one night, "you need to be a teenager again. You deserve to have your own life, your own dreams." "I don't know how to be a teenager anymore," she confessed. "It's been so long since I've been responsible for everyone." "Then let's learn together. Let's find out what you like, what you want to study, how you want to live your life." Gradually, Emily allowed herself to be young again. She started to take an interest in makeup, clothes, and music. She made friends at school. She even became interested in a boy from her class. When she brought her first boyfriend home, David had to swallow his paternal jealousy and receive the young man politely. "Dad, this is Austin. Austin, this is my father." "Nice to meet you, Mr. David. Emily talks about you a lot." David shook the young man's hand, thinking about how he had missed the phase of meeting his daughter's first romantic interests. 1 year after the family's return, they decided to throw a party to celebrate the complete renovation of the house. They invited neighbors, friends, and some people who had helped them during the difficult years. Mrs. Thompson was one of the guests of honor. "David, my son, look at how this family has rebuilt itself. It's beautiful to see." Mrs. Miller from the neighborhood bakery was also there. "David, you can be proud of your children. They are special kids who went through a lot and became strong people." During the party, David made a short speech. "I want to thank everyone who helped us during the difficult years, especially Mrs. Thompson, who took care of my children when I couldn't be present. Mrs. Miller, who gave me my first job opportunity when I got out of prison. Mr. Bennett, who fought for my innocence when no one else believed in me." David looked at the family gathered in the renovated backyard. "But most of all, I want to apologize to my children for the years I missed of your lives. And I want to thank my wife, who kept our family together, even when everything seemed lost." The children approached their father, and the whole family hugged in the middle of the yard while the guests applauded, moved. That night, after everyone had left and the children were asleep, David and Sarah sat on the porch, watching the stars. "David, are you happy?" asked Sarah. "I am complete," he replied. "For 9 years I dreamed of this moment. With our family reunited, our house in order, our children growing up healthy." "It was very difficult, wasn't it? It was the hardest thing I've ever lived through. But it was worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of despair, it was worth it to get here." "And now? What are our plans?" David smiled, pointing to the tree they had planted together in the backyard a few weeks earlier. "Now we're going to grow along with that tree. We're going to see our children graduate, date, get married. We're going to be grandparents. We're going to grow old together in this house that we renovated with so much love. And if a new problem appears, then we'll solve it together, as a family." Sarah snuggled into her husband's arm. "I love you, David. Even with everything we went through, even with all the lost years, I love you. I love you too, Sarah. And you know what's most amazing? Our love grew stronger after all of that." In that moment of peace, David reflected on his journey. He had lost 9 years of his life, had been betrayed by his best friend, had seen his family almost fall apart, but he had also discovered the strength of true love, the importance of family, and the value of perseverance. He looked at the renovated house, at his wife by his side, and knew his children were sleeping safely in their rooms. For the first time in over a decade, David Mitchell felt truly at peace. Life would still hold challenges, he knew. There would be bills to pay, children to raise, dreams to fulfill. But now they would face everything together, as a true family, and that made all the difference. Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially to subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. 2 years had passed since the Mitchell family reunion. Life had found a new routine, more balanced and happy. David worked at the auto repair shop and had been promoted to supervisor. Sarah had finished her technical course and gotten a job at the city hall. The children were growing and developing well. Emily, now 17, was one of the best students in school and dreamed of going to college for psychology. The trauma of having to become a mother prematurely had awakened in her a desire to help other families in difficult situations. "Dad, I want to study psychology, to help children who went through what I went through," she said one day. "It's a beautiful profession, my dear, and you have a calling for it. But college is expensive. We'll figure it out. Your education is a priority." Jackson, at 10 years old, had completely transformed. The angry boy had given way to a cheerful and communicative child. He was one of the best students in his class and excelled at soccer. "Dad, the PE teacher said I have the talent to be a professional player." "Really? And do you want that?" "I do. But I want to study too." "You always say education is important." David smiled, proud of his son. Tyler, at 8 years old, was a loving and intelligent child. The nightmares had stopped completely and he had developed a passion for drawing. "Look, Dad, I drew our family." David looked at the drawing. It was much better than Lily's drawings at the same age. Tyler really had artistic talent. "It's beautiful, champ. You draw very well. When I grow up, I'm going to be a comic book artist." Lily, at 7 years old, continued to be the joy of the house. Talkative, curious, affectionate with everyone, she had become the family's mascot. Everything seemed perfect until an unexpected event changed everything again. On a Thursday morning, David was working in the shop when he received an urgent call from Lily's school. "Mr. Mitchell, you need to come here urgently. Lily got sick and is being taken to the hospital." David ran out of the shop, his heart racing. At the hospital, he found Sarah already waiting for news. "What happened?" he asked, breathless. "She fainted at school during PE. The doctors are examining her." David and Sarah waited in the waiting room, anxious. After 2 hours, the doctor appeared. "Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell?" "That's us." David stood up quickly. "How is our daughter?" "She is stable now, but we need to run some more detailed tests. The fainting could have been caused by several things: anemia, hypoglycemia, heart problems." "Heart problems?" Sarah turned pale. "It's just a possibility. We will investigate everything. For now, she will be admitted for observation." David felt the world spinning. After everything they had been through, now Lily was sick. In the following days, Lily underwent several tests. David and Sarah took turns at the hospital, one of them always by their daughter's side. The other children were worried at home. "Dad, is Lily going to be okay?" asked Tyler, concerned. "Yes, son. The doctors are taking good care of her." But David wasn't sure. The tests were taking a long time, and the doctors weren't giving definitive information. Finally, after a week of tests, the cardiologist called David and Sarah to talk. "Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, I have the results of Lily's tests." "And so, doctor," David held Sarah's hand. "Lily has a heart condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a disease that makes the heart muscle thicker, making it harder to pump blood." Sarah began to cry. "Is it serious, doctor?" "It is a serious but treatable condition. With proper medication and medical follow-up, Lily can live a normal life. But she will have some limitations. She cannot do very intense physical activities, she needs to take medicine every day, and she needs regular checkups." David breathed a sigh of relief. It was serious, but it wasn't a death sentence. "Doctor, what is the cost of the treatment? The medications are expensive, and the cardiologist appointments are too. But there are assistance programs that can help." When they left the hospital with Lily, David did the math in his head. Even with the help of assistance programs, the treatment would be a significant expense for the family. That night, David and Sarah talked about the financial situation. "David, we're going to have to make some sacrifices. Maybe I need to look for a second job." "Sarah, you already work all day. You can't take on another job. Then what are we going to do?" David became thoughtful. He had an idea, but he didn't know if it would be well received by the family. "Sarah, remember the money left over from the settlement? It's saved for emergencies." "David, that money was for the children's future, for Emily's college, for our retirement. But Lily is our daughter too, and she needs it now." I know. It's hard to see all the plans change again." "Honey, plans are made to be changed when necessary. Our daughter's health is more important than any plan." David made a decision that would once again change the family's course. He would use the settlement money to pay for Lily's treatment, but that meant Emily would have to postpone her college plans. When he told Emily, she surprised him with her reaction. "Dad, of course Lily is the priority. College can wait. Sweetheart, I know how much you dream of this, and I'm still going to make that dream come true. It's just going to take a little longer. Lily needs it more than I do right now." His daughter's maturity moved David. Emily had truly grown up and now showed incredible generosity. Jackson and Tyler also reacted surprisingly when they learned about Lily's condition. "Dad, can Lily not play with us anymore?" asked Tyler. "She can play, son. She just can't run a lot or do activities that tire her out too much." "Then we'll invent new games," said Jackson. "Games that don't tire you out." The solidarity between the siblings touched David deeply. His family had truly become united. Lily, for her part, took everything with the naturalness of a child. "Daddy, am I going to take medicine like Grandpa used to take?" "Yes, sweetie, but you'll keep playing, studying, doing everything you like." "Okay. At least now I have an excuse not to run in gym class," she laughed. His daughter's innocence made David laugh too, even amidst the worry. The following months were about adapting to the new reality. Lily took medication regularly, had monthly checkups, and the family learned to deal with the limitations of the illness. David discovered that being the father of a child with a chronic medical condition was a constant challenge. Any different symptom caused anxiety. Any activity needed to be evaluated. Any plan needed to consider Lily's special needs. But he also discovered that it brought the family even closer together. Everyone took care of Lily with redoubled affection. Emily helped by remembering medication times. Jackson invented games suitable for his sister. Tyler drew cheerful cards to cheer Lily up on doctor's appointment days. One day, 6 months after the diagnosis, Lily had a crisis during the night. She woke up with difficulty breathing and chest pain. David and Sarah rushed her to the hospital. In the emergency room, Lily was immediately seen by the doctors. "It's a typical crisis of her condition," explained the cardiologist. "We'll adjust the medication and she'll be fine." But that crisis scared the whole family. For the first time, they saw how Lily's condition could really be serious. Emily, who had accompanied her parents to the hospital, cried in the bathroom where no one could see. "Emily, what's wrong?" David found her. "Dad, I'm scared. What if Lily? What if Lily?" "Lily will be okay, sweetheart. The doctor said it's normal to have crises sometimes. But Dad, we've already lost so much time together. 9 years you were away. I don't want to lose Lily too." David hugged his daughter, understanding her fear. Emily had been traumatized by the family's separation, and now she was terrified of losing any member again. "Honey, no one is going to be lost. We'll take care of Lily, and she will grow up healthy and happy. Promise? I promise we will do everything in our power." After that crisis, David made an important decision. He looked for a second job to be able to pay for a better health insurance plan for Lily. Sarah, I'm going to work on Saturday mornings too at a bicycle repair shop. It's not much money, but it will help. David, you already work too much. It's for our daughter. It's worth it. David began working 6 days a week, and Sunday mornings became even more special for the family. It was the only time they all had together, and they made the most of it. They had picnics in the backyard, watched movies together, cooked special meals. Lily was always the center of attention, but in a natural way, without her feeling different because of the illness. 1 year after the diagnosis, Lily was stable and well-adjusted to the medication. Her cardiologist was optimistic. Lily is responding very well to the treatment. If she continues like this, she can lead a completely normal life. The news brought relief and joy to the whole family. Around that time, Emily received an unexpected offer. A teacher from the school approached her. "Emily, you are one of the best students I've ever had. There is a full scholarship available at the university in Washington, D.C. I would like to recommend you." Emily was moved, but worried. "Teacher, it's very far. I would have to live there." "It's a unique opportunity, Emily. You have the potential to be an excellent psychologist." Emily talked to the family about the offer. At first, everyone was divided. On one hand, it was Emily's dream. On the other, it meant she would be far from the family again. "Emily, you have to accept," said David. "It's your chance to fulfill your dream." "But what about Lily? And all of you? I don't want to be apart again. Honey, you being away is not the same as when I was gone. You will be studying, achieving your dreams. And we will visit each other often." Jackson, Tyler, and Lily also encouraged their sister. "Emily, you have to go," said Lily. "When you're a psychologist, you can help me if I get sad about my heart." Lily's innocence convinced Emily definitively. "Okay, I'll accept the scholarship, but I'll come home every month. And we'll visit you in Washington, D.C. too," promised David. Emily's farewell was emotional. She had been through so much with the family, had been so responsible for her siblings, that leaving to study was a huge step. "Dad, thank you for everything," she said, hugging David at the airport. "Thank you for what, honey?" "For coming back, for fighting to regain our trust, for teaching us to be a real family." "Emily, I'm the one who should thank you. You took care of your siblings when I couldn't. You were a second mother to them. You are amazing." "I just did what I had to do." "No, honey. You did much more than that. You saved our family," Emily cried, hugging her father tightly. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, my daughter. Now go achieve your dreams." With Emily in college, the household dynamics changed again. David took on more responsibilities with the children, especially Lily, who needed constant care. Jackson, now 12, became the present older brother and took it very seriously. He helped take care of Tyler and Lily whenever their parents needed. "Dad, can I take Lily to the doctor's appointment with you?" "Of course, son. It'll be good to have your help." Tyler, at 10 years old, had developed his artistic talent even more. He made beautiful paintings that brightened the whole house. And he always drew special things for Lily. "Lily, I drew you as a princess," he showed proudly. "How beautiful, Tyler. I'm going to hang it in my room." Lily, at 9 years old, had completely adapted to her condition. She took her medicine without complaint, went to her appointments naturally, and led a happy, normal life within her limitations. 2 years passed. Emily was doing well in college and came home once a month. Jackson excelled in school and soccer. Tyler had won a school drawing contest. Lily was stable and happy. David felt he had finally managed to give his family the stability and happiness he had always dreamed of. That's when he received news that would change everything once again. Mr. Bennett, his former lawyer, came to see him at home on a Sunday afternoon. "David, I need to talk to you about something important." "What is it, Mr. Bennett?" "Remember your old partner, Richard?" David felt a chill. He didn't like talking about Richard. "What about him?" "He's being investigated for other crimes. Fraud, tax evasion, money laundering. And during the investigation, they discovered something about your case." "What?" "David, the crime you were imprisoned for was much worse than we imagined. Richard not only forged documents, but also bribed witnesses, bought jurors, paid off the prosecutor. David was shocked. What do you mean? Your conviction was the result of a conspiracy. Several people were paid to ensure you were found guilty. The entire system was corrupted in your case. But why? Why so much effort to frame me? Because of the money, David. The land you were going to sell was worth much more than we thought. With the new mineral discoveries in the region, the value multiplied tenfold. Richard knew this before anyone else. David sat down heavily. The betrayal had been even worse than he thought. And what does this mean now? It means you can sue not only Richard, but the state, the corrupt prosecutor, the false witnesses. The compensation would be in the millions. David fell silent, processing the information. Mr. Bennett, I don't want more money. I want peace. David, we're talking about several $1 million. Enough money for you to never have to worry about Lily's treatment again, to guarantee all the kids' college, to have a comfortable life, and also enough money to keep me involved in lawsuits for the next 10 years, to have to relive this entire painful story constantly, to expose my family to more suffering. Mr. Bennett was surprised. You don't want to sue? No. I've already suffered too much from this. My family has already suffered too much. Now I just want to live in peace, raise my children, take care of my wife, work honestly. But David, Mr. Bennett, you gave me my freedom back. You gave me the chance to reunite with my family. That is priceless. As for the money, we can earn money by working. Peace of mind we cannot. The lawyer tried to convince David for another hour, but he was unyielding in his decision. When he told Sarah about the conversation, she supported him completely. David, you're right. We don't need more money. We need peace. But what about the kids' college? And Lily's treatment? We'll manage by working honestly, saving, planning. We can do it. Are you sure? I am. Money that comes from suffering doesn't bring happiness. David felt relieved by his wife's support. He had made the right decision. A few weeks later, David received another unexpected visit. It was Richard. The man who had been his best friend and greatest betrayer was at his door, visibly worn down. David, can I talk to you? David hesitated. He didn't want to see Richard, but curiosity got the better of him. Speak. David, I came to ask for your forgiveness. Forgiveness? I know I don't have that right. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I needed to tell you in person I am so sorry. Very much so. David observed the man who was once his best friend. Richard was aged, thin, looking like someone who hadn't slept well in a long time. Why now, Richard? Because now I know what it's like to lose a family. My wife found out everything and left me. My children don't want to speak to me anymore. I'm under investigation, I'll probably go to prison. And in the middle of all this, I finally understood what I did to you. And what did you do to me? I destroyed your life. I separated you from your children. I made your wife suffer like a slave. I made your children go hungry, live in fear, feel abandoned, all out of greed. Richard began to cry. David, I was your best friend. You trusted me, and I stabbed you in the back in the worst possible way. David felt a mix of anger and pity. Why did you do it, Richard? Greed, envy, fear of being poor. You had a beautiful family, a thriving business, a perfect life. And I had debts, problems, a wife who only complained. When the opportunity came to make a lot of money at your expense, I couldn't resist. You knew I was innocent the whole time. I did, and it ate me up inside. But the more time passed, the harder it became to confess the truth. 9 years, Richard. 9 years of my life, 9 years away from my children. I know, and there's nothing I can do to make up for that. David was silent for a long moment. Richard, I forgive you. How? I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Because carrying hatred only hurts me. Because my family deserves me to be a man at peace, not a man consumed by revenge. Richard was shocked. David, I didn't expect this. Yeah, I didn't expect to ever forgive you either. But life has taught me that forgiveness isn't about the person who did wrong. It's about the one who forgives. "Thank you," said Richard, crying. "Thank you for being a better man than I ever was." "Richard, I sincerely hope you learn from your mistakes, that you become a better person, and that one day you manage to win back your own family. Do you think that's possible?" "Anything is possible when there's true love involved. It took a while, but you're here asking for forgiveness. That's already a start." Richard left, and David never saw him again. But he heard that he confessed fully to the authorities, cooperated with the investigations, and after serving his sentence, moved to another city where he works in an orphanage, taking care of abandoned children. David told his family about the forgiveness he had given Richard. The reactions were varied. Emily, who had come home for the weekend, was proud. "Dad, you're an amazing man, forgiving someone who hurt us so much." Jackson was more direct. "Dad, if it were me, I'd never forgive." "Jackson, you're still young. One day you'll understand that forgiveness frees the one who forgives." Tyler drew a picture of his father with angel wings. "Why wings, son?" "Because only an angel forgives someone who did something really bad." Lily, with her childlike innocence, asked, "Daddy, are you going to be friends again now?" "No, sweetie. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or becoming friends again. It just means not holding anger in your heart." Sarah was the one who best understood her husband's decision. "David, you surprise me every day. I thought I knew you completely, but you always show me new sides. It's just that life has taught me a lot, my love. Unjust imprisonment, separation from family, betrayal by a best friend, a daughter's illness. All of that made me grow as a person. And what an incredible person you've become." The Mitchell family's life continued on its course. Emily graduated in psychology and returned to the city to work. She opened a small practice, but soon became known for her competence and sensitivity. She specialized in helping families in crisis, using her own experience to help others. "Dad, did you know our story inspires my patients?" she shared one day. "How so?" "When I treat families going through difficulties, I tell them our story, how you got lost and found each other again, how you overcame the problems. It gives people hope." David was moved to learn that the family's suffering was serving to help others. Jackson became an excellent soccer player and received an invitation to train with a club in Washington, D.C. But he surprised everyone with his decision. "Dad, I've decided I don't want to be a professional player." "Why, son? You have so much talent." "Because I want to be a doctor. A cardiologist like Lily's doctor. I want to help children who have heart problems like her." His son's decision moved David deeply. Jackson had found his calling through love for his sister. Tyler developed his artistic talent so much that he began selling drawings to pay for his own materials. By 14, he already had a small income as an illustrator. "Dad, I want to study art in college and become a professional artist." "You have my full support, son. You have an incredible talent." Lily, at 13, had become a cheerful and determined teenager. Her heart condition was under control, and she led a normal life. She had developed a passion for literature and dreamed of being a writer. "Dad, I want to write our story. I think it can help other families." "Our story?" "About the 9 years you were gone, how we found each other again, how we learned to be a family again. It's a beautiful story." David agreed, and Lily began writing a book about the family. At just 13, she showed impressive maturity and sensitivity. One day, 5 years after David's return, the family received a very special visit. It was Mr. Bennett, now older, accompanied by a television crew. "David, do you remember me saying your story could inspire other people?" "I do." "Well, a television program wants to tell your family's story. Show how you overcame all the difficulties." At first, David hesitated. "Mr. Bennett, I don't know if I want to expose my family." "Dad," Emily interrupted, "our story can help so many people. Families going through separation, crises, difficulties. They need to know it's possible to overcome." "It's true, Daddy," agreed Lily. "I'm already writing our story anyway. Why not let more people know about it?" After talking with the whole family, David agreed to participate in the program. The only condition was that the focus be on overcoming and family love, not on drama and suffering. The program aired on a Sunday afternoon and had a huge impact. The Mitchell family's story touched millions of people across the country. After the program, David received hundreds of letters from people who had been inspired by the family's story. Parents who were unjustly imprisoned and held on to hope of reuniting with their children. Families going through crises who found strength to keep fighting. Children growing up without their parents who discovered there was still hope. One of the letters that moved David the most was from a 12-year-old girl. "Mr. David, my father is also unjustly imprisoned. My mother works very hard to support me and my two brothers. Sometimes I feel like Emily, having to take care of the younger ones. But after I saw your story, I understood that we can overcome anything when there's real love. Thank you for giving me hope." David showed the letter to the family. "You see, our pain served to give hope to other people." "That's good, Daddy," said Lily. "It means we suffered for something." "Suffering always serves something, my dear. Either to make us better people, or to prepare us to help someone going through the same." Years passed. David and Sarah grew old together, watching their children grow up, graduate, and start their own families. Emily married a fellow psychologist and had 2 children. She continued working with families in crisis and became a leading expert in the field. Jackson graduated from medical school, specialized in pediatric cardiology, and dedicated his career to caring for children with heart conditions. He married a nurse and had 3 children. Tyler became a famous illustrator with books published in many countries. He specialized in children's stories that tackled difficult themes like family separation, illness, and overcoming adversity. He married a writer and they had a daughter. Lily graduated in journalism, wrote several books about family and resilience, and became a nationally known motivational speaker. Her heart condition remained stable over the years. She married a cardiologist she had met during one of her checkups and had 2 children. David worked until he was 60 when he retired. Sarah also retired, and they dedicated themselves to their grandchildren and volunteer work. One Sunday morning, when David was 65, the whole family gathered at the house on the street where it all began to celebrate the 20th anniversary of his return from prison. The house had been expanded over the years. The backyard where they planted their first tree together now had several leafy trees. The lunch table could barely fit all the family members, David and Sarah, their 4 children, their 4 sons and daughters-in-law, and their 9 grandchildren. "Grandpa," asked Maya, Emily's 8-year-old daughter, "is it true you were away from the family for a long time?" "It's true, my little granddaughter." "Why?" "Because sometimes unfair things happen in life. But what matters isn't what happens, it's how we react to what happens." "And how did you react?" "We never stopped being a family, even apart, even with anger, even with hurt. We always knew we loved each other." Emily, now a mature woman of 37, looked at her father affectionately. "Dad, do you know the most important lesson I learned from our whole story?" "What is it, daughter?" "That family isn't who is physically present. Family is who is present in the heart. All those years you were in prison, but you were present in our hearts, and we were present in your heart." David was moved by his daughter's words. "And today?" asked Jackson, now a respected 32-year-old cardiologist. "What do you feel when you look back?" David looked around the table, seeing all the beloved faces, hearing the laughter of his grandchildren playing in the backyard. "I feel gratitude." "Gratitude? For everything we went through?" "Gratitude for everything we overcame. If we hadn't gone through those hardships, we wouldn't be the people we are today. Emily wouldn't be such a competent psychologist. Jackson wouldn't be such a dedicated doctor. Tyler wouldn't be such a sensitive artist. Lily wouldn't be such a strong and inspiring person. Tyler, now a successful 30-year-old man, completed his father's thought. And you wouldn't be the wonderful grandfather you are today. And Mom wouldn't be the loving grandmother all the grandchildren adore. Lily, at 28, a professionally accomplished woman and mother of 2, raised her glass. A toast to our family, a family that got lost and found each other, a family that suffered and overcame, a family that proved love is stronger than any difficulty. To our family, everyone toasted together. That afternoon, watching his grandchildren play in the backyard, David reflected on his journey. He had gone through wrongful imprisonment, betrayal by his best friend, separation from his family, rejection by his children, financial difficulties, his daughter's illness, and so many other challenges. But he had also experienced forgiveness, reconciliation, unconditional love, overcoming, and the joy of seeing a family rebuild itself. Sarah approached and sat next to her husband on the porch swing he had built in the backyard. "What are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking it was worth it." "What?" "Everything. All the suffering, all the pain, all the struggle. It was worth it to get here." "You wouldn't change anything if you could go back in time?" David thought for a moment. "I wouldn't change a thing, because if I changed anything, maybe we wouldn't have arrived exactly here, and here is perfect." Sarah rested her head on her husband's shoulder. "I love you, David Mitchell." "I love you too, Sarah Mitchell. I love you today. I loved you during all the years of separation, and I will love you forever." "And now, what are our plans for the coming years?" David smiled, watching the grandchildren play. "Now we're going to enjoy each day. We'll take care of the grandchildren, travel, read, talk. We'll live each moment as if it were the last, but planning as if we're going to live forever. And if a new problem appears, then we'll solve it together, as a family, as we've always done." The sun was setting on that special Sunday afternoon. The children were called inside. The adult children began to gather their things to leave. Another family gathering was coming to an end. "Grandpa," said Caleb, Anna's 5-year-old son, "are you going to tell a story before we go to sleep?" "Of course, my little grandson. What story do you want to hear?" "The story of our family," David smiled. That story never grew old, never lost its magic. And every time he told it, he discovered new details, new meanings. Once upon a time, there was a family that loved each other very much, but was separated by a great injustice. And David began to tell, once again, the story of a family that was lost and found itself, that suffered and overcame, that proved true love can conquer any obstacle. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. 25 years had passed since David's return from prison. He was now 70 years old, hair completely white, but eyes still bright with joy and wisdom. Sarah, at 68, remained the strong and caring woman who had sustained the family during the most difficult years. On a winter morning, David woke up feeling a strange pain in his chest. Initially, he thought it was just fatigue, but the pain persisted. Sarah insisted he see a doctor. The diagnosis came as a shock. David had had a mild heart attack. Nothing serious, according to the cardiologist, but a warning that he needed to take better care of his health. "Mr. David, you still have a long life ahead of you, but you need to make some changes. Healthier diet, light exercise, less stress, regular medication." Ironically, the one who cared for David during his recovery was Jackson, his cardiologist's son. "Dad, you need to listen to me now. I'm your doctor and your son, so there's no escape," Jackson joked. "Son, it's strange to be cared for by someone I raised. It's the circle of life, Dad. You took care of us when we were little. Now it's our turn to take care of you." The heart attack experience made David reflect on life and death. He had been through so much, built so much, that he now felt at peace with the idea of his own mortality. One afternoon, while recovering at home, David called all his children for a serious talk. "Kids, I need to talk to you about something important." Emily, Jackson, Tyler, and Lily gathered in the living room, worried by their father's serious tone. "Dad, are you feeling unwell?" asked Lily, always attentive. "No, sweetheart. Physically, I'm fine. But the heart attack made me think about some important things." David took a deep breath. "I want you all to know that I have lived a full life. A difficult life, but a full one. And if today were my last day, I would be at peace." "Dad, don't talk like that," protested Emily. "Daughter, I'm not talking about dying now. I'm talking about being prepared. And I want you all to be prepared too." "Prepared for what?" asked Tyler. "For when I'm no longer here. for when you have to take care of each other, of Mum, of the grandchildren, for when you become the elders of the family. Jackson, as a doctor, understood the importance of that conversation. Dad, what kind of preparation are you talking about? I want you to promise me a few things. First, never let the family drift apart. Keep getting together, stay close, keep being a united family. We promise, said Lily, holding her father's hand. Second, take care of Mum. She has already been through so much suffering in her life. In her final years, I want her to be only loved and cared for. Of course, Dad, said Emily. You don't even have to ask. Third, keep our family story alive. Tell it to the grandchildren, to the great-grandchildren. Our story of overcoming can continue to inspire other families. Lily is already writing a book about it, Tyler reminded him. Fourth, take care of yourselves, each one of you. Health, work, relationships, life is precious. Don't waste it. And the last promise? David smiled, moved. The last promise is that you be happy, that you achieve your dreams, that you love, that you are loved, that you cherish each day. Because your happiness is my greatest treasure. The 4 children hugged their father, all crying. Dad, you're not going to die anytime soon, said Jackson. Your heart is fine. It just needs care. Son, I'm not planning to die. I'm planning to live better, but everyone needs to be prepared for anything in life. That conversation deeply marked the family. In the following years, they all became closer, more caring of each other, more grateful for every moment together. David followed the medical instructions to the letter and had 5 more years of healthy and happy life. He saw 3 more great-grandchildren be born. He followed his children's professional achievements. He traveled with Sarah to places they had always dreamed of seeing. At 75 on a spring morning, David did not wake up. He died in his sleep, peacefully, beside the wife with whom he shared 52 years of marriage. David's wake and funeral were a demonstration of the impact he had made on the lives of many people. Besides the large family, hundreds of people who had been touched by his story of overcoming attended. Mrs. Thompson, now 90 years old, insisted on being present. That man was an example of strength and forgiveness, she said to Emily. Even after all he went through, he never held a grudge against anyone. Mr. Bennett, now retired, also came to say goodbye. David was the client who taught me the most in life. He taught me that justice isn't just about winning cases, but also knowing when to stop fighting. Several families who had been inspired by the Mitchell story were present. A woman approached Lily. Your father saved my family. 10 years ago, my husband was unjustly imprisoned. I was about to give up when I saw your story on television. It gave me the strength to keep fighting. Today he is free and we are together again. During the burial, each child gave a speech about their father. Emily was the first. My father taught me that forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength. That family isn't about blood, it's about love. That overcoming isn't about forgetting suffering, it's about transforming suffering into wisdom. Jackson continued, my father taught me that a real man isn't one who never falls, it's one who always gets back up. That a real father isn't one who never makes mistakes, it's one who owns his mistakes and fights to make them right. Tyler spoke next. My father taught me that beauty isn't in perfect things, but in things that were broken and mended with love, like our family. Lily finished. My father taught me that the story of our life isn't about the bad chapters we lived, but about the beautiful ending we managed to write. After the funeral, the family gathered in the house where it all began. The same house that David had found in ruins and renovated with such care. And now, asked Tyler, what do we do without him? We continue being a family, answered Emily. That's what he wanted. But it won't be the same, said Jackson. It won't be the same, agreed Lily. It will be different, but it will still be family. Sarah, who had remained silent all day, finally spoke. Your parents died twice. The first time when they stopped breathing, the second time when you stopped talking about them. Let's make sure your father lives forever in our conversations, in our memories, in the stories we tell our grandchildren. In the following months, the family went through a natural process of grief and adaptation. Sarah became more fragile, but the children organized themselves to care for her with all tenderness. Emily visited her mother every morning before work. Jackson had lunch with her twice a week. Tyler spent Sunday afternoons drawing with her. Lily slept at her mother's house whenever she could. 1 year after David's death, Lily finished the book about the family's story. The title was After 9 Years Wrongfully Imprisoned, A Story of Love and Forgiveness. The book became a national bestseller and was translated into several languages. The book's income was entirely donated to institutions that help families in vulnerable situations. 2 years after her husband's death, Sarah began to show signs of dementia. Initially, they were small, forgetful moments, then confusion about dates and people. Finally, she began to not even recognize her own children. "It's cruel," Emily said to her siblings. "After everything she went through, now this." "Perhaps it's a mercy," pondered Lily. "She has forgotten all the suffering too. In the memories she keeps, we are all small children, and she is taking care of us." It was true. In moments of lucidity, Sarah spoke of David as if he were still alive, of the children as if they were still small, of the family as if they were still in the difficult times, but united. "David went to work this morning," she would say. "He'll be back at lunchtime. Emily, did you take good care of your siblings?" The children learned to enter their mother's world instead of trying to bring her back to reality. "Yes, Mom, I took care of everyone." "That's good, my daughter. You are a very responsible girl." Sarah lived 3 more years with dementia, always cared for tenderly by her children. She died at 74, sleeping peacefully, while Lily read to her one of the letters David had written from prison. Sarah's funeral was a celebration of the life of an extraordinary woman, heroic mother, dedicated wife, caring grandmother, an example of strength and resilience. "Our mother was the strongest person we have ever known," said Jackson during the burial. "She held our family in her hands when everything seemed lost. She was the foundation upon which our father rebuilt our bonds." With the death of their parents, the 4 siblings became the patriarchs and matriarchs of the Mitchell family. They took on the responsibility of maintaining the family union and passing on the values they had learned. Emily became the mother of the family, always organizing the gatherings and making sure everyone stayed close. Jackson took on the role of protector, always ready to help any family member in difficulty. Tyler continued being the sensitive artist, recording the family's important moments in drawings and paintings. Lily became the storyteller, keeping her parents' memory alive and teaching new generations the importance of family unity. 10 years after David's death, the Mitchell family had grown even larger. There were 17 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. They all grew up hearing the stories of the grandfather who was unjustly imprisoned and the grandmother who kept the family together. On a Sunday in December, the 20th anniversary of David's death, the entire family gathered at the original house for a special celebration. The house had been turned into a family memorial. The walls were covered with photos that told the story through the years. The backyard had several trees planted at important moments. The table was large enough to seat the entire numerous family. "Grandma Lily," asked Chloe, David's 10-year-old great-granddaughter, "is it true that great-grandpa was away from the family for a long time?" "It's true, my dear. And were you all angry with him?" Lily smiled, remembering her own childhood innocence when her father returned from prison. "At first, yes. We didn't understand why he had been away, but later we learned that sometimes the bad things that happen to us are not our fault, or the fault of those we love." "And what did you learn from all of that?" "We learned that family is forever, that true love overcomes any difficulty, that forgiveness is the gift we give ourselves, and that every day together is a precious gift." Emily, now 62 and a grandmother to 6 grandchildren, added, "And we learned that our story doesn't end when we die. It lives on in the people we love, in the lessons we teach, in the example we leave." Jackson, at 57 and an internationally recognized cardiologist, added, "Your great-grandfather always said we shouldn't judge a life by its worst moments, but by how the person reacted to those moments. And he reacted with love, with forgiveness, with determination to rebuild." Tyler, at 55 and a famous artist, showed his grandchildren his latest work, a series of paintings telling the story of the Mitchell family. "This one is great-grandpa coming home from prison and finding you, my siblings, on the house's porch. This is the moment he met Lily for the first time. This is when we all renovated the house together. And this last one is our family today, large and united." Tyler's paintings moved the whole family. He had perfectly captured the most important moments of the family history. Lily, at 53 and a respected writer, announced a surprise. "I have some news for you all. The book about our family is going to be made into a movie. A famous director wants to tell our story on film." The news caused great joy. The Mitchell family's story would reach even more people. "And who will play great-grandpa?" asked Caleb, Lily's grandson. "A very famous actor. But the most important thing isn't who will play him. The most important thing is that our story will inspire even more families who are going through hard times." On that special afternoon, as she watched the whole family gathered, Emily remembered the first day David had returned from prison. She, a rebellious 15-year-old girl, too responsible for her age. He, a 42-year-old man, lost and desperate to reconnect with his children. How much had changed since then? How much pain had been healed? How much love had grown? How many people had been touched by that story of overcoming? "Aunt Emily," called Maya, her daughter, now a 33-year-old woman, "what do you think Grandpa David would say if he could see our family today?" Emily smiled, feeling a deep emotion. "He would say it was worth it, that every tear shed, every sleepless night, every moment of despair, it was all worth it to get here. And Grandma Sarah. She would say she always knew it would work out, that she always had faith in our family, even in the toughest moments. When the afternoon came to an end and everyone began to say their goodbyes, the 4 siblings were alone in the house, just like in the old days." "We did it," said Lily. "We kept our promise to Dad." "Which one?" asked Tyler. "All of them. We kept the family together. We took care of Mom until the end. We kept the family history alive. We looked after each other, and we were happy." "You know what's most amazing?" said Jackson. "It's that our story isn't over. It continues in our children, in our grandchildren. They will carry forward the values we learned." "And when we are no longer here?" asked Emily. "Then they will tell their children about the great-grandparents who were lost and found each other, about the family that overcame every hardship, about the love that was stronger than any obstacle," replied Lily. "It's beautiful to think about that," said Tyler, "that our story will live forever." The 4 siblings hugged, right there in that house that had been the stage for so much pain and so much joy, so much separation and so much reunion. Outside, the tree they had planted with David 25 years earlier stood tall and leafy, its roots deep and its branches reaching for the sky. Just like the Mitchell family, with deep roots in true love and branches that stretched out to touch the hearts of many people. The story of David Mitchell, the man who spent 9 years wrongly imprisoned and managed to rebuild his family through love and forgiveness, would live on forever. Not just in Lily's books, or in the films that would tell his journey, or in Tyler's paintings, but most importantly, in the heart of every person who learned from his story that it's never too late to start over, that forgiveness is the key to liberation, that family is about unconditional love, and that every storm, no matter how strong, eventually passes. And when it passes, it always leaves behind a rainbow of hope and the certainty that it was worth resisting, fighting, and most of all, loving, because in the end, love always wins. End of story. This was a fictional story created to touch our hearts. Now tell us what you thought. Do you believe David made the right decisions? Which moment in the story moved you the most? Leave your opinion in the comments with sincere words and share your experiences. Thank you so much for your company. Don't forget to leave your like and most importantly subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories.